Looks like Andrew is about to come around, and sorry, there was a bit of a technical hiccup on our side. Andrew, what's going on with you? How are things?
Not too bad. Glad to be joining.
Absolutely. All right, I'll like to take you from here. I want to make sure you have enough time to tell us everything that you wanted to share. So go right ahead and take it from here.
Perfect. Well, thanks very much for having me. This is really exciting to be part of this conference, to see so many people who are like-minded, who are either experts in no code or just getting started. My name is Andrew Haller. I'm the co-founder of Airdev. We build software for clients using Bubble as our primary technology. And we also use this global network of no-code developers, PMs, and designers that we call our Airdev partners. So the no-code movement has been really exciting to watch over the years. I first learned about Bubble and no-code in 2013 and have been following it obviously very closely since then. And the striking thing for me is, while no-code is definitely a movement enabled by technology, you have tools like Bubble and Adalo and Zapier and other things that are making things possible that weren't previously possible. At the end of the day, it is a human movement. So the tools that we talk about enable real humans to do things that they couldn't do before and to organize in new ways. And so for me, that's really why this is so exciting to be part of this conference, is because we are all people, thousands of us gathering together, who know about this technology in this space. And we're all just looking for ways to leverage this technology to do new things and to make change. So I want to take a few moments just to talk about this human movement of no code. And I want to talk specifically about two categories of people impacted by no code. First, I want to talk about the rise of the no code developer and where those people with these superpower skills go, what they're going to be doing. So I can share a few thoughts about my own experience there, as well as what we're seeing on the ground. And then secondly, I want to talk about what happens to everybody else, primarily the traditional developers, and all sorts of other roles that are centered around making software products. So I want to talk about those two categories. I'll start with the no-code developer. And tell a little bit of my own personal story to kind of highlight some of the things that we've learned over the years and that we're seeing. So prior to 2012, I was a management consultant. So I would go work at big companies and try to help them solve their problems, totally outside of the world of technology, help them solving strategy and operational issues. And while I was in that role, I used a lot of tools myself. I would use PowerPoint, I would use Excel. So I'd be creating models and presentations and things like that. And during orientation, our company would share with us this old stencil. It was this plastic stencil, and it had little circles and triangles and things like that. And it was a reminder of how things used to work in the past before we had these awesome tools like PowerPoint and Excel, which is that when you wanted to put together some sort of visual slide or representation, you would take out this stencil and you would make a little chevron or a little circle or a little box, and you'd kind of map it out. And then you would send it to this production team, which were all these experts who were had these specialized, centralized tools and skills. And they would go produce things for you, and they'd bring them back. They'd bring back your slides, and then you would look at it, and it would be wrong, and you'd do a bunch of back and forth. And from the dinosaurs who were at my firm who had gone through this, it was just this horrible, terrible process. And so they would still give us these stencils as sort of a reminder of how good we had it, that we were able to do really sophisticated things on the fly. The other thing that I experienced while I was a management consultant was that we would have certain areas that would get into the world of coding, like if we had to code up a big survey that we were distributing to try to gather, customer insights. And we had this centralized survey team that we would bring on in those cases. And we would write up this survey, and we would write all the branching logic and the content and everything. We'd hand it over to them, and they'd work all night coding this thing up. And then they'd turn it over to us, and then we'd review it, and we'd find typos and issues and bugs and things. We'd send it back. And it was this terrible headache. I mean, it would take an analyst, 40 hours out of their work week to just manage this process. And so these were the experiences that I had prior to the no-code movement, prior to being sort of ushered into this. And so they really helped inform how I thought about no-code when I came across it. So I was a business school student. During my time at business school, I was trying to launch a tech-enabled app, be an entrepreneur. I had no money. I had no technical co-founder. I had no coding skills myself. Basically, I had no options. I just happened to catch wind of this tool called Bubble, and it was co-founded by an alum. He was coming to speak on campus, and I was literally the only person gullible enough to fall for this promise that, hey, you can learn to build a website too, or a web application. So I was the only guy to go talk to the guys who turned out to be Josh and Emmanuel and meet them and talk about this tool Bubble. And because of my desperation, literally having no other options, I took a flyer on it and started to build my platform out using Bubble. And so it was a platform that was two-sided marketplace. It was connecting emerging music artists to their super fans to help crowdfund private concerts. And what was incredible to me is I found myself just gravitating toward building out all these features in this tool. I completely lost sight of what I was trying to do as an entrepreneur and validating my concept and hustling to get early users and customers, and was so enamored by the power that I had to express my creativity, to build things I couldn't do before using this magical tool called Bubble. And so I really learned two things. Number one, I had accidentally become this super full stack engineer. I would talk with my friends from college who were engineers, and they would say, I don't understand how you built that in just a few weeks. That's typically something that would take you months to be able to put together. So I had sort of become this full stack engineer. And the second thing I learned was I really, really, really loved doing this. It was this thing that I would spend nights and weekends doing. It was something I felt passionate about in a way that I hadn't before. So fast forward, my startup failed for obvious reasons that I've already described. And so here I was when I had gone down this path, learning this tool for a specific reason. And now I was this guy with this superpowers, this new passion, but I didn't really have a new place to put it. I didn't know what else to do. So I would kind of dabble in side projects and things like this. And I will say this is a story that is not unique to me. We have it all the time with folks on our team, folks we interact with, where people get indoctrinated into no code either through pure curiosity or because they have a specific need, and they get so locked into it and so passionate about it, and yet what do they do with that passion? So there are three places that I have observed that people go. Number one, they become entrepreneurs, serial entrepreneurs. They just keep spinning up new things using their powers that they have. And that's, I think, where a lot of the excitement and energy is around no code, is people just going off and building things because they can and testing out concepts. The other two areas I think are really interesting and things that might not come to mind right away. So the second one is going to work at agencies and doing this professionally. And we're seeing an explosion of micro agencies around the no code movement, people with specific skills or backgrounds applying a new take on building things for other people. And this is where Airdev has come in and our primary focus has been. So we have a program we call the Airdev Partners Program, where it is a globally distributed network of Bubble developers, designers, PMs. And we structure our program all around unified standards, unified tools, unified procedures. and allow people to tap in on a freelance basis alongside whatever else they're doing as a passion project or consulting or what have you, and to use this skill and this passion that they've developed to build things for others, and by the way, to get paid doing it. And so we're seeing a lot of that sort of activity, and that's where my passion is with Airdev. And the last thing that I want to mention in terms of where these people go is they go back into their businesses. And so I come back to my experience with McKinsey, where I used to work, and being this guy who could float around and understand different business problems and use the tools that I had, Excel and PowerPoint, to build things and to share ideas with people. And we're seeing a lot of really, really fun cases where people are either being entrepreneurs or just being business analysts of the future, people who take this skill set and this passion back to the normal work they're doing every day and are building things within their organization to solve everyday problems. And so thinking back to my, had I been a no-code enabled person back in the day of my consulting years, I would have, first of all, been able to tackle that survey myself very easily in the same way as I would have done for slides or an Excel model. And secondly, I would have highlighted all of these new cases where I could build something to help the organization deliver on all of the strategy that I was coming up with. So if I was working on a pricing study, I would have actually been able to create the tool that would help field reps price out and quote and create quotes for their deals. I would have been able to create project management platforms to help my own team manage all of the different work streams we're working on. And so obviously this is an area that I'm really excited about, is when people create this new skill set and new passion that they didn't have before, where do they go? And we're going to start seeing a lot more high profile cases of people going down all three of these paths, being entrepreneurs who scale really cool products that are all entirely built on a stripped down no-code tech engineering team, agencies who are going to grow and standardize how to build applications in really high quality and low cost ways, as well as these business analysts of the future who are going to go into all different industries and all different areas within companies and build little things to solve practical problems. And so we're really excited about that. So I want to close by coming back to the other guys, the traditional software engineers, and everybody around traditional process of software. Because no code is a disruptive movement. It's disruptive in the sort of classical innovator's dilemma, Clay Christensen way, where all of a sudden this technology unlocks a dramatically lower price point for doing things, a dramatically faster process for building things, and a much more widely accessible skill set that many more people can do. And so when you see something like that come into a market that's already very well established and builds things in old, slow, expensive ways, you naturally think software engineers are going to be out of a job. So I have a bit of a different perspective on this, and we've seen it play out in our work. Because we've seen this sort of threat before, and the fear about people losing their jobs or, major areas being disrupted. And so whether it was, the invention of the loom threatening garment workers, or computers and robots threatening, manufacturing laborers, we always have this worry that, is this going to create massive disruption? Is this going to be this very confrontational thing? The way that it tends to play out across history is that when you see a massive productivity gain in one area, so in this case, developing a piece of software, it tends to open up lots of demand to take advantage of that new productivity. In this case, that would mean lots of people wanting to make software who wouldn't have thought to do so before. And that also creates lots of pull demand on all of these other areas that are around that main area that haven't had that same productivity gain, that are still done in that manual way. And so what we've seen in our work is that a lot of times when we come in, let's say we're working with a big traditional development agency, and we're coming in to create a really quickly created no-code tool, their developers are actually working on really high-end functionality like artificial intelligence algorithms or other types of technical solutions that plug into the application that we're making. And similarly, there's a huge new amount of demand for designers and for QA and all of these other functions that happen around the actual software production process. Not to mention a huge amount of demand for the people who actually conceive of these tools, who help scope them out, who run the processes to be able to do this, whether it's an entrepreneur or within a business. And so basically my perspective on this is that this is a rising tide that will actually lift all ships. There will be places where something that a software engineer would have done is now done by a no-coder. And in fact, in most cases, that software engineer will be very, very happy to not go through the mundane process of creating another two-sided platform or debugging some aspect, and they can use their skills in these really cool areas that happen around it. But also, we're going to see just a massive amount of increase in flurries of activity around building software, whereas before, really, it has been a pretty off-limits, heavily guarded area just based on technical skills that not everybody has. This language of writing syntax and vocabulary in these archaic languages that people don't have. So that's a little bit of perspective from what we've seen at Airdev, what I've seen over the years in the no-code movement, and where I think it's progressing when it comes to this workforce of the future, this no-code, software-fluent, software-enabled workforce that will go into all of these walks of life, whether it's entrepreneurship or agencies or building directly within their existing companies, and create a massive productivity increase that will create lots of new, really exciting opportunities for everybody around the software production process. So this is the stuff that I get super jazzed up about at Airdev, and the work that we're doing to help create that network of folks who can tap in and build things with the skills and passions that they have. And it really comes out of the experience that we've had and what we've seen on the ground. So again, very excited to be here. I hope some of those thoughts will help folks as they're thinking about what they want to do with their skills and their passion after going through workshops and things like that here. But with that, happy to pause, open it up for any questions.
This was definitely an amazing talk. The talks about whether or not, no code, next technology, AI, or whatever is going to disrupt the industry and going to keep people out of their jobs is something that we constantly hear on many different levels. I fully agree with Andrew's opinion about the fact that the disruption always comes with the pluses and the minuses, and we will see some of the processes getting simplified. We will see some of the jobs getting simplified, but on the other hand, there's no end to new inputs and new findings and new applications of people's talents, people energy, and no-code industry as a whole is a great living and breathing example of that. And companies like Airdev prove it every day by doing the projects themselves and helping their clients to achieve their own goals. In that sense, both Airdev and Zeroqode are exactly in the same boat. We're working with clients across different industries, across different sizes, and we're making sure that no-code is empowering their business, enhancing their potential and capabilities. And thanks to Andrew for being a part of that journey and contributing to that.